Hello my beautiful book besties, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Liv and this week I'm hosting my own spring readathon. So if you don't know, I have a Patreon where I host a readathon every other month. It'll be a different theme, it'll be seasonal, and we just have the best time over there. This week's readathon is going to be all things spring because that's the season we're in. We are going to be watching the movie Emma, which is honestly like the perfect spring aesthetic and I've never watched it. We're going to be doing a buddy read with a book discussion and reading sprints of course, and this week is just going to be packed of all the fun spring things and I absolutely cannot wait. I will share more details of all the things I have planned this week as we go, but without further rambling, I'm just going to walk you guys through my reading plans this week, and I am predicting like a straight 5-star reading week, and I mean that. I genuinely and really think all of these books are going to be 5 stars for me, so we're just hoping for 4 straight 5 stars with these. The first prompt is Spring Has Sprung, which is just a new to you author or book or series, and for this one I'm actually going to be using our buddy read. It is Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. I have heard nothing but amazing things about this, and I think there's 4 books in the series at this point. It's like a Regency fairy whimsical story about this girl who gets her soul, or half a soul, stolen from a fairy. Supposedly half her soul resides where the fairies live, and then half her soul resides where she currently is. So I'm very excited to see where the romance comes into play. I've heard from some people that this reads a little bit more middle grade or young adult, but honestly I don't mind that at all. So I'm really excited about this. I honestly think I'm going to love it and want to read the second book immediately. So I'm very excited to discuss this with everyone. And because I'm actually starting this readathon on Earth Day, I thought why not choose a book that has a nature element in the title or on the cover or just in the story in general. And for this one I'm choosing my Patreon book club selection to make sure I actually get it read. That is Heartless Hunter, the Crimson Moth series, and I cannot explain or express to you the excitement I have to start this book. It's like no other excitement I've ever had. Every single person on the internet is like, this is the best, newest, biggest fantasy series or duology that you're gonna get this year. Clearly I need to jump on the bandwagon with this one, and I think people have been comparing it to Serpent and Dove. You kind of have like a witch and a witch hunter, but other than that I know nothing about it. I'm going in completely blind, so I will definitely keep you updated as I go. And then we have Time for Some Spring Cleaning, which is actually just going to be a book on your physical TBR, which I do not own yet, but I've actually been trying to make it a point to keep up with new releases this year, and Emily Henry's Funny Story releases tomorrow. I'm actually not going to get the book in the mail until Wednesday, I believe, but that's okay because I have plenty of other books that I need to get read this week, so I'm going to be reading Funny Story for this prompt. Again, I honestly have not read the synopsis since I first heard this book was coming out, so I am going in completely blind. I've heard it's like her best one yet. I was a little bit disappointed with Happy Place, so I'm hoping we get the Emily banter and the humor and all the things I love about her as a person in her new book. And the last prompt is just to enjoy the spring air. I'm trying to encourage people and myself to get out and just enjoy the beautiful, nice weather. And for this prompt, you're just going to read a book outside. You could choose a brand new book or you could double up on prompts, but for this one I thought why not choose a graphic novel, which will be a very quick read, so we're not going to get sunburned around here. But this is Lightfall number 2, which I have yet to read. The first one was very spring, and I just feel like there's a lot of nature and beautiful elements in his illustrations as it is. Most of it is outside, so I think this will be perfect for this readathon. I gave the first book 5 stars, and because the third one is already out now, I have some catching up to do. But this is going to be my goal this week with Emily Henry's book. It definitely feels a little bit chunky to have 2 fantasy books. I typically don't choose fantasy for readathons, but we're going to try it anyways because I'm trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone because of book clubs and discussions. So hopefully this will be a very solid reading week. I am so stoked to read all of these. And another thing that I always see at Barnes & Noble and I'm tempted to buy every single time is these Studio Ghibli paper theaters. I don't know if you guys have seen these before, but they never have this one specifically in stock. If you don't know, I am absolutely obsessed with Totoro, and I love the little sprites, or the dust sprites. I think this is going to be so much fun to put together. But the back looks fairly simple. It's just a couple pieces, so I'm hoping this goes well. But because I have a pretty chill week this week, I don't really have a lot of plans other than a bunch of reading and some editing, filming, all that good stuff. I was like, you know what? I need something to motivate me to listen to an audiobook and to give me something new to do. I also have another crafty thing I'm gonna do, and we're gonna make some lemon bars. I also have a spring puzzle. I haven't even started. I think I bought it last year and I literally never did it. I don't know why. I also have a Kiki's delivery service puzzle I could do. So we just have all sorts of fun crafty things that I could do this week. But we are mainly focusing on the reading, obviously. So on that note, I'm gonna go ahead and start Half a Soul. I am itching to get into this, and I will give you guys an update when I have one. Well, hello besties, happy Friday. Yes, it is already Friday. It's been a very busy week, so I do have a decent reading update for you guys. But to ring in the weekend, I was like, what better way than to make a springy lemon sweet treat so we have something to snack on while we read all weekend long. So I decided to make lemon bars. I've never made them before. They're currently chilling, so I'm going to give you a reading update while we wait to taste test them. Crossing my fingers they turn out okay, because I need something happy this weekend. It is a dreary, rainy weekend, which kind of puts a little bit of a damper on me wanting to just hang out outside and read in the sunny weather, get a little bit of a tan, but that's okay. We are just going to bring the happiness indoors. Starting us with the first 5-star of the readathon, which is Half a Soul. I absolutely ate this book up. Little did I know it's actually 230 pages, because the last 50 pages is actually a novella about our main male character. So I was pleasantly surprised that I actually flew through this a lot quicker than I thought, but that's perfect because I was able to knock out the book discussion and still be able to let it stew in my mind for a couple days. First of all, I can understand now why people compare this to a middle grade novel, because the story is very simple, it's very wholesome, it's very sweet, but honestly that's what I appreciated about it. It was honestly just a really good palate cleanser from a lot of the other things I've been reading lately, which is thrillers thrillers, and so this just kind of eased me back into the fantasy genre. The humor was absolutely top-notch. Our main character was so sweet, and I don't want to like ruin the whole half a soul thing, but let's just say there was some darker stuff in this than I thought there would be. There's actually like this sleeping plague that is taking over the children, and so the main male character is trying to discover what in the world is going on. In the prologue, we have Theodora, who is by a pond or a lake or something when she's a child, and there is this fairy king that says, "Your mom sold you to me," and she is like, "What in the world? Absolutely not." And one of her cousins, Vanessa, actually stabs the king with some scissors in the leg, and so she ends up carrying these scissors for the rest of her life, because if you don't know or you aren't familiar with fantasy, most fairies are terrified of iron, and so she carries these scissors around. And I love that we got that scene up front, because now it makes a whole lot of sense why there's scissors on the cover. But this was just so good. I loved every single character. I loved the Regency vibes. There was a ball, but it wasn't too heavy on the Regency side, which is what I appreciated, because I don't necessarily gravitate towards that kind of thing all the time. This was just absolutely delightful. That is the only word I can describe this book or this series. I immediately went and put the next two on my book wish list, because I just want to binge read this whole series now. I just love everything about this, so I highly recommend. And I also got Funny Story in the mail, and I've already reached a little bit over the halfway point, and I am sad to report I think I'm gonna be breaking my 5-star streak this weekend with this one. And trust me, I am just shocked as you are. Happy Place was not my favorite, okay? We were missing the Emily Henry banter. It read more like a lit fic or a chick lit, and while that's not necessarily a bad thing, it just wasn't what I expected. And this book has the same exact fake dating trope that was in Happy Place, and I'm just a little bit bored. I'm also convinced that these characters wouldn't be together except for the fact that they're roomies and they understand what each other are going through, because they used to date both of their exes, but now they're the ones that have been left behind, and so now they're forced to be friends because they're stuck in this apartment together. I just don't really care for Miles. Miles as our main male lead is definitely not like my taste or flavor in men. I keep forgetting I'm reading about 35, 36-year-old people and not high schoolers. I don't know, you guys. I don't know. I feel like this is reading like my least favorite Emily Henry yet, and I was seeing everybody give it 5 stars. So I have been really shocked by that. Definitely a big plot twist. The book is beautiful and even fits the vibe of our little lemon bars, but I'm just not feeling it. I'm not relating to either one of the characters. I'm in Daphne's mind, but I don't feel like it's me. Typically I can picture myself or visualize myself as the main character, but there's nothing that's similar about us at all. She is a children's librarian, which I think is super cute and super sweet. She loves children. It feels very insta-lovey. So yeah, I am very disappointed, to say the least. Not necessarily in Emily Henry, but I am kind of doubting Emily Henry. I feel like I read an Abby Jimenez book, her new one, not that long ago, and it's so difficult not to compare, because I feel like Abby Jimenez has easily taken the top spot as my favorite romance author. I do know that she said this book was actually the hardest to write. She kept getting a lot of writer's block, and I can almost see that. I know that sounds terrible, but like I can definitely feel a lot of the ups and the downs and like the pushing through of some of the scenes or something. I don't know what it is. I'm really sad. I am going to finish this one off, but I will say I'm extremely eager to get to Heartless Hunter. I actually almost started this last night because I was just kind of bored with this one, so I am gonna push through with this one, because I'm scared if I don't pick it up or finish it, I won't be motivated to pick it up at all. So we are gonna finish this first, but I'm definitely gonna be diving into this one very, very soon. And after reading this one, it just got me in the mood for another fantasy, so I'm very excited. I do have the Lightfall graphic novel still that I need to read, and I need to read this outside, so we're just gonna see if there's a break in the rain at some point, or I'm just gonna put an ambience on and just call that my outside. So I'm pretty confident I'm going to be able to finish my books for the readathon this weekend. If you're like me, you've probably seen the Lego Bouquets everywhere, but I'm telling you, they're like 80 bucks. And I was like, absolutely not. I don't think I'm gonna spend that money just for one. Like, yes, you have it your entire life, but I just felt like it was a little bit pricey. So I ended up going or searching on Amazon Lego bouquet, and this company actually came up, and they actually kind of do a knockoff bouquet. With this company, you can buy the little bundles to create this bigger bouquet, but this one was only $18. So hopefully with both of these things, that'll keep me busy this weekend with reading, of course, and then I have sprints and book club discussion on Sunday. So I'm very thankful that I went ahead and pulled the trigger on these two things I've had my eye on for a while. But I think our lemon bars are done, so let's go cut those up and do a taste test because I have been dying to try them. bookish besties. It has actually been some time since I've revisited this vlog. I actually decided that I wasn't going to put this video out because I didn't feel like it was complete. I was reading really slow and then I ended up not really feeling well. So sorry if the pace is a little bit weird with this video, but you know what? Once again, we are striving for progress, not perfection. We are giving ourselves grace this year, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna put this video out regardless. I had such a fun time hanging out with my patrons and reading books for the spring readathon. Even though all these books aren't necessarily set in spring, I'm going to tell you why I think that they're good spring books, but I am here to essentially just give you a book review of all of these books. So the first one that I already talked about, and I told you it was a 5-star, this book was absolute perfection. It's a very short 230-page story where it is just so whimsical and fun, and the romance is wholesome. You're not going to get any spice from this, but you also have this other underlying plot which is kind of crazy about this plague, and I just felt like the whole thing was the perfect pace. I loved all of the side characters, I loved the humor, and the narration for the audio was absolute perfection. So I did already go ahead and buy the rest of the series, and I'm hoping to read those very soon, but I'm also a little bit scared that it's not going to live up to the hype of this one. So I am going to see what I think of the other ones, but this one by far was so good. And another book that I wanted to so badly love, because Happy Place was iffy for me, I still gave it like a 4. After I sat on it for a while, I did let it like fully soak in, and I did enjoy it while I read it, but I'm so incredibly sad to say that Funny Story has now taken the place as my least favorite of her books, and I was thinking I was going to rate it the highest. So I said I was hoping and praying that my feelings would change during the second half of this book, and unfortunately they didn't change that much, but I will say the second half of the book was so much better than the first half. The first half, you kind of have this Nick Miller character in Miles kind of acting immature. This is obviously just a personal preference, but to me, I feel like these two main characters did not have much chemistry. Miles did some really cute things for Daphne near the end of the story, but I just felt like they were complete opposites. I felt like I couldn't relate to Daphne. I felt like this story was almost for people that struggle with a relationship with their dad, and that is not something that I've ever dealt with, thankfully. So I think in that sense it was just very hard to relate to, but I really did love the relationship Daphne had with her mom. That was incredible and so sweet. It was honestly my favorite relationship in the book because I was rooting more for that than her being with Miles, which I feel like is not a good sign if you're setting up two main characters in a romance. I feel like with Funny Story and Happy Place, Emily is just taking her books to a different route. Like, she's trying to explore more of like this female character development, and we just don't get as much time with the main characters together for me to be invested in their romantic relationship. This one was just really hard for me. I think I'm gonna settle on a 3-star. I hate to say it, but Happy Place being a 4 and then her other books have been a 5 for me, I don't know what's happening. But I hope for me she continues to go uphill the more that she writes and we aren't on this downward slope forever. This next book, if I see anyone complain or whine about anything about this book, I will genuinely riot and shut them down. Because you guys didn't even see me read this book. I think I talked about it in my TBR at the beginning of the video, but this book I flew through. I have not had a book that was unputdownable in such a long time, and this is now at the top of my list for favorites of the year, and that is Heartless Hunter. The only thing that I'm disappointed about in this is that I have to wait until February for book 2, and the cliffhanger, absolutely genius, but I need to know what happens. This is a true enemies to lovers story. I've read plenty of enemies to lovers. While it's not my favorite trope, I feel like it's kind of unrealistic. I go more towards friends to lovers, but this was just like true hate. He is hunting her because she's a witch, and then they end up having feelings for each other, and then there's a love triangle. I sobbed at the end of this book. I legit did not see what was coming, and I was shook. This author goes there, she knows how to wreck you, and I was like, wow, this is like new adult. This does not feel like your typical YA. The Regency but like witchy kind of vibes were just such an interesting contrast. I love the way she wrote it. It was just like poetry. Every single page I was sucked into. There was no dull moment. The character developments were so great. The stakes were so high. I can't even talk anymore about this book because it was absolute perfection, and no one can convince me otherwise, I have put the last Namsara, I think is her other series, quickly on my Amazon wish list. I'm probably gonna buy it because it was that phenomenal. Like, I want to own all of her backlist and read them as soon as possible. So if you don't read any books in this vlog, or you only choose one, it has to be this one. Incredible, chef's kiss, probably my favorite book I've read so far this year. And finally, last but not least, I read volume 2 of Lightfall, which was the perfect follow-up to the first volume. I feel like the first one had a little bit more depth and the stakes were a little bit higher. This was the perfect continuation of that story, so obviously you want to read them in order. We don't get as much of that anxiety representation in this one versus the other one. So for that, I think I'm going to rate this like a 4 or 4.5. I actually went to go buy the third volume and it sold out everywhere. I don't know what's going on or if that one was indie published, but I need to know what happens. This is such a cute middle grade graphic novel series, literally my #1 favorite of all time, and this just confirmed that. I mean, the artwork is perfect for spring. This story is so funny, but also so dark. It's just such a great combination of love and trust and betrayal, and there is just so many fun elements to this. If you love fantasy, or even if you don't, I feel like you are going to absolutely devour this series like I did. Well, my friends, even though I am a little bit late in wrapping up this video, I obviously did take the time to complete all of these so I could give you some of my thoughts. Very, very disappointed and shocked by the Emily Henry rating, but I predicted Heartless Hunter, Have a Soul, and Lightfall to all be 5 stars, and I was pretty much right. So I love that for me. This was a great readathon and a great reading week. I just love my patrons so much. I do a bi-monthly readathon, so if you ever want to check it out, I do different themes over on Patreon, so you can check it out. But this was such a fun time. So you'll have to let me know what you thought about any of these books. Do you agree with me on Emily Henry, or are we in disagreement? Because I've seen crazy reviews for this book and it's just all over the place, and I'm so interested in people's thoughts as to why they liked it or why they didn't like it, and for me it was just a little bit lackluster. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this cute little kind of springy vlog. I know we are already creeping up on summer, so I was like, I cannot wait any longer. I've got to put this video out because the lemon bars were amazing. I've been reading outside, which has been so fun, but soon it is going to be way too hot to do that. Thank you for supporting my channel and watching this video. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next video.